Okay, here we are at the test bench, and we're going to run some scenarios on this rear end for right rear indexing. A customer of ours asked, or a subscriber asked, if we could do some indexing when we did a hike video. And the indexing, because I mentioned in the past, we half indexed. And that indexing was a little different than it is today. Because back then, our holes were more straight up and down. So it might have pulled the bird cage, or it would have pulled the bird cage a little bit. Now we're more in relationship to the arc. So we see less or very, very little change in the bird cage when we make change in the rods. So what we're going to do here today is we're going to start in standard hole on the bird cage, 4.5 up, 4.5 down. And then we're going to make some bar changes to the top at this angle, at this degree. And then we may lower it down because we're up a little right now, but we may lower it down one hole and run the same 3 scenarios again. And what we're looking for is the amount of change that we have in our right rear load. So this is a digital ride height gauge, and so we'll be tracking our load. This is where we started with this setup. We would currently be heads up on the rear end. So we'll just call it 108, 108. We currently have no rear steer in the rear axle. We'll monitor rear steer gain by hike, but we're going to start with no rear steer. As we put rear steer in, it would slightly change our angle on our shock. So our shock right now is standing pretty much straight up and down right now. And it's got a little angle in it, but I'm going to say less than a couple of degrees. And it's got very, very little angle in it when it's sitting straight up and down. Half a degree. It's got half a degree in it, okay? In most scenarios, I'm going to say they have more forward angle in it than that, okay? Now, what I've done is I've moved the bird cage over from its standard position. So here's kind of our setup. We're heads up on the wheels. We're 5.5 inches from wheel side of the rotor to center of the heim. Okay, if you take this measurement, it should be the same on everybody's car if you're flat side of the rotor towards the wheel, which 99% of the people are. So this is universal measurement for every car. Late model, doesn't matter how thick your rotor is, if you come from that flat side, then you're talking apples to apples. So 5.5 inches, we're starting out at, we're going to start out at about 7 degrees lower bar angle, 19.3 upper degree bar angle. So I'm not a real big upper bar angle guy. So I'm saying, you know, this right now at our ride height, I think we're 6.5 inches off the ground over here. And I think we were at a 12 1/8 ride height. Okay. So at them ride heights and stuff, I would probably like to see this more at 18 degrees than, 19.5. So we're going to start this scenario out. Like I said, we're 4.5 up. We're going to start in the center hole. We have already put a bit of toe in the bar, okay? And we did that for a specific reason, and I'll show you when we get it in hike. So everything's been moved to try to manipulate the toe in the bar. So I may go back at the end of the video and show you how bad it was when we first started. So right now, let's go ahead and run our first scenario. Okay, that's full hike. We have gone from very little index change So we was very, very, very little index change. Very little index change. We was 88.3 or 88.5, and now we are 89. So half a degree index change. And 386 thousandths height change on load. So we're now 21.2 and 8.75 on the bottom. So not a lot of angle change. Our shock is pretty much straight up and down. Not a lot of indexing change. We got about 5/8 of rear steer on this side. And about 3 1/4 on this side. So let's go back down. So checking that to make sure we're setting at 0. We're 0. $19 1/4. So let's change our indexing and see. So we'll go up. And that's what I mean. Our arc is pretty good because it doesn't change much. So our angle now is 17. So we're in the top hole. We're 17 degrees on the upper. We are 7 degrees on the lower. We're at 88.1 on the indexing. We are setting at 45 thousandths plus on our 0. So we were 0, now we're a little taller. And we won't zero that out again. We'll leave that like it is. So we get the same reading instead of just a difference from start to finish of each move. We'll get a reading from each height. Okay, so we have a down marker to set our ride height, and we have an up marker to set our hike. So our top rod now is at 18,900. Our bottom rod is at 8.7. Our bird cage indexing is at 89.8. And our travel is at minus 275. So this is, the index changing is much better on this than it was. And technically our rear steer has stayed the same. So we're not going to check the rear steer every time because it really doesn't change. So we'll run this back down. $17, $7. Okay, we'll move this down, put it in the bottom hole. Our birdcage stand has indexed, or up and down, not indexed, has gone up and down very well. Our indicator here has repeated within 2 or 3 thousandths of up to down. So I feel like it repeats very well. As long as we keep everything kind of tight, it repeats pretty well. So now this time we're in the bottom hole on the birdcage. And I believe those holes are 5/8 apart, but I'll double check. So bottom hole, and we are 20. We're going to start at 21.6, and the bottom is 7. Birdcage indexing 87.5. And we're going to start at 31 thousandths. And we'll run a scenario. So let's do that. Okay, so we are 23.45 on the top. We're 8.7 on the bottom. Our birdcage indexing is 89.05 degrees. Our load rating is 363 in a minus. So it went down, I mean, it changed almost 100 thousandths there, okay? So that's in the third hole up. I'll put a PDF on our deal, and you can look it up. 4 degrees on this is what it should be. We're a little different between our CAD file and reality, which I think is always going to happen. I'm going to say we're about 1.5 degrees difference, but I'm going to say that's always going to happen. So Let's run it back down and we'll get ready to change that and start over again. Okay, that's right back to where it started out. So we're going to go back to the middle hole and we're going to drop it a hole here. So we're going to raise it back up to the middle hole. And we're going to drop it on the frame. And as you can see, I'll try to run this a little better. I didn't really let you see that very well, but you can see that we have quite a bit of bar toe there. It's about 1.75 inches right now. When we go into hike, I'll take that off and show it to you again. But so I do have it all the way over against the chassis mount, which is not ideal. It's not bound up, but it's not where you would want it if you was going to race. Ideally, ideally, I think we need to cut the mount off and move it over about 1.5 inches. And in production, I think that's what we're going to do. Boy, wouldn't it be nice if you could stand right here and change a bar? Yes, that would be nice. Okay, so that's got us changed up a little bit. So now we're down in the second hole. Second hole up. Okay, and we're going to start in the middle. And our starting angle is 16.3 upper, 7 on the bottom. Our birdcage indexing is at 88.05. And our load indicator is setting at 0.052. Okay, let's run a scenario. Okay, upper rod is at 18.15 degrees. Lower rod still at 7. No, I'm sorry, it's at 8.7. It's at 8.9. Our birdcage indexing is at 88.85. And our hike is at our load indicator is at minus 473. So lowering that down a hole changed our indexing, and it made it changed to 100 thousandths. So it made it a little worse. So okay, we'll go on to the next one. Okay, so our top rod, so we're in the top hole. Our top rod is at 14.2. Our bottom rod is at 7. We're setting right at 88 degrees indexing. And we're at 26,000 starting point of load. And that is positive. Okay, let's run it. We went to 16.1 on our top rod. Our bottom rod is at 8.9. And these are Amazon digital gauges. I don't know why they shut off so quickly, but they do. Our indexing is at 89.2. The batteries are pretty new in them. Maybe they're not new enough, but they are pretty new. 89.2, and our 413, we're minus 413. So raising the rod up does help decrease the loss of load. So now we'll go and we'll do the bottom hole. And if I'm not forgetful, this time I'll show you the rod at full up. One thing it does make this easier, two things that makes it easier. One, that we don't have a spring load on this, so changing rods is easier. Two, these are grade 5 high-tempered bolts. They come standard in our bird cages. They are absolutely wonderful bolts and nuts to use. They have flanges on them, and they are a lock nut. I have them tapped out, so I don't have to fight the lock nut. Okay, so we're in the bottom hole, and our starting point is at 19. Top rod, 7 on the bottom rod. Birdcage indexing is at 88. And our travel is at 42 thousandths in the positive. So we'll run the scenario. And Our top rod is at 20.7. Our bottom rod is 8.85, which it's been 8.9, so all the time. We're at 88.8 birdcage indexing. And our load is at 462 minus. So the load at the top and the bottom, or in the middle and the bottom, was pretty close to the same. And it was in the best when it was all the way up. So this is kind of manipulated. As you can see, the rod has a little bit of toe still in it, but it's better than it was when it was in the centered up position. So I might come back and show you a centered up original position. Okay, we've moved everything. We've moved the mount. We've moved the bird cage over. As you can see, we've moved the bird cage over this far from our original location, and we've moved this mount clear to the side of the frame. So this is giving us our best case scenario, I feel like, for load change. So as you notice, the car is separating even though it's rocking over. We're increasing our so like we're at 19 inches. So when we hike this, this is part of getting our heads wrapped around it. We think we're just rolling over on that right rear. But in this scenario right here, when we hike it, we're losing roughly a ½ inch of load to it. So, we're starting out right now at 18.5 and going to about 19.5 load change. And when I move this over and I change that angle back a little, or forward, it gets worse. So we're losing load when we hike. Same thing happens on the left rear. That's why you have to reset your indexing when you change your chain. So if you add height to the car, if you change your bar angles and you add height to the car, then it changes the load of the spring over there. And in our hike video, we didn't really emphasize that very well. And I may go back and just do a separate video. Unfortunately for us, we're running out of time here on the bench because we're getting ready to move this stuff out so we can get ready to load up a car on the pull-down rig and start doing some videos about that and running you through some scenarios over there. But so we may be off the table for a little while because we're just flat out running out of room. So if you have any questions, please feel free to call. If you have comments, put them in the comments. Let's start a conversation about what we learned here today. If you have questions about the base setup, let me know. I'll try to put a link to the complete setup in the description so you guys will have access to that. All this information will be on that spreadsheet in the description, so you'll have that information that you can look at. Pretty much this is built off the car, okay? And we're going to have a car in here in the next, by Thanksgiving, and we're going to have it on pull down rig, and we're going to be pulling some loads and stuff on it, and it matches this setup, and we'll get into that when that gets here. But yeah, if you have any questions, comment. If you have comments, comment, questions, call, ask in the comments. Feel free to do that. Tell me what you need to know, and we'll get it figured out so you can learn it. If If you have, like I said, if you have any questions, call us. The shop number is 620-326-3152. Our goal here is to make you guys faster. So if we don't do better, the right rear and the right rear load, and that's, I've never been a big fan of this bar angle deal. We've done it, but this is our problem. We grew up on a quarter toed in, and that's where we like to feel comfortable at. Okay, even though that's not where we need to be, we need to get the bind out of this rod. So when we set this up in a normal scenario, like old school, like where we started, we end up with a lot of funky, ugly bar chains. So I'll run that back up. As you see, we got a lot of bar angle. I'll run it back up so you can see it one more time. Our bar angle is still towed in a little. It's not very bad. We'll get a little closer look at that. It's not very bad. And it's way better than it was. That's our original position. Weird in the camera, I thought. It is a little towed in, but I'm going to run the scenario on it and look how ugly it gets. Look at the bar toe. Okay, this is throwing a load inefficiency into the bar. That's the bar angle when it's at full hike. We still got a little toe in, so we're going to start in a toe and we're going to finish in a toe. If you have any questions, please feel free to call 620-326-3152 is our shop number. Comment. As always, go fast, go left, and God bless you, and we'll see you the next time.